There's Dylan is at EBI studying, so he's not going to be here. But we are here to encourage anyone who has an interest in urban education. I love all the teachers that are here. We have Way of Jesus, Studies and Peace, some of the ones. Our whole staff team is here from White House Academy. And maybe you have this crazy idea of starting a school in the ghetto. I would say, first of all, I'll let you know something. It's not a crazy idea. I would say it's a crazier idea to maybe ignore the call and the burden because there's a real need, there's opportunity out there. So also ask any of our staff, most of us we're born close to cornfields, and we love where we're at now in the city. Cornfields actually honestly kind of creep me out anymore. So the city's great. So a few questions you might have right now. First of all, what about a building? What about staff? What about finances? What about funds? I love the story that Brother Daniel shared this morning. God has all the resources. He really does. Align ourselves with Him, and He will open the door for that. I had at the beginning had more like statements. I don't know what I'm doing. This is overwhelming. The questions were there as well. If you read the workshop description, we're here to share kind of our story of how God led us to start Lighthouse Christian Academy. And I'm not going to dive into the legal ramifications or that whole discussion of the processes and everything like that. That's what the Urban Educators Collective is about, where you can come to me afterwards. Different states are represented here. I'd love to see an urban school there in West Virginia. I love West Virginia, wherever Manny's at, and he picks on them. Anyway, but we want to really share, I think I said in the description, we're focused more on the challenges and miracles that one can expect on this journey toward the heart of God. The heart of Jesus, His compassion. He took the children in His arms and He blessed them. So a few things. By the end of the workshop, we hope that you'll have a better idea of the benefits and blessings of Christian education in an urban setting, a better idea of the eternal impact that Christian education and discipleship, mentoring, have on both children and families, and maybe tying in a church plant with that. We'll touch on that maybe a little bit. A better idea that this is actually possible, something radical, but something possible with God's help. Like Brother Daniel mentioned about the school in 10 years ago, God has the resources. And then at the end of this workshop, we want to give you a better idea of who's available to help you with your vision. And it's a crazy vision, but it's a vision that is close to the heart of God. I want to, before I turn over to my wife, because honestly the reason my wife is up here, she had the initial burden for this, and working with her interaction and discipleship with some of the Hispanic ladies who have come to the faith. They're in Harrisburg and wanted a school. Started like sharing their hearts with my wife, and she had that the burden and the call before I did, and she will share that. Before that, I'm just going to go way back and just give a short testimony. So I don't know where you're at right now in your life, involved in a kids club, involved in something, maybe having something, but you have your own business and you live in the country somewhere. That's where we were. I had my own business. It was a successful business in construction. We had just built a brand new house, and I was playing lots of softball. It was great. I was leaving my kids and my wife at home and playing softball. I just out with the guys in the church league. Actually, not all church leagues. But anyway, God got hold of me. And in His mercy, He, on a Sunday morning, I met the Lord at the altar. And was not planning any of this. And he changed my life, changed my worldview, and 5 months later, we were in Mexico serving at a ministry there. The pastor said that Sunday morning, he said, just open yourself to the Lord. Don't do anything crazy, just go pursuing something. That Wednesday, Destination International called me and asked if we would serve in Mexico. 3 days after this encounter with the Lord. So that's something that, if you're like, man, I'm not sure how this is going to look. It's maybe something to be crazy right now in another country, another setting. I'm not equipped. I wasn't equipped. I still don't feel like I'm really equipped. But God, in this whole process, has I've learned through lots of mistakes, obviously. But in that journey, sold our business, sold our home, and moved to Mexico. And we were there for 3 years. And in that process, I was ready. We felt like this is where God had us to be, wanted us to be. Really long story, but I don't have the time for that. I'm just going to really wrap this in. God called us back here to the States, but not back to Ohio, to the cornfields. That's okay. It wasn't for us. To a Hispanic, a city with a growing Hispanic population, Harrisburg was that, and the plus with that was really cheap housing and all that kind of stuff. We ended up in Harrisburg, and interesting thing that's part of our story is we were looking at houses in the Allison Hill neighborhood, and you could buy a nice house for $40,000, 5-bedroom house. And we had the money and the investment. I went to make a phone call to pull out our investment, and they said, you can have $7,000. The rest is frozen indefinitely because we're going bankrupt. So that wasn't in the plan. We had decided to come back, and it was like, we have this investment. We can invest in the neighborhood. We can buy a house that had a mortgage, and just minimal job and things like that. That all went away. And I had to work a full-time job, and I started out at $13 an hour, became $7. All that kind of stuff was played into our story that just showed God's greatness, God's time and time again. He provided in ways that were just amazing. And you talk to any of my children as well. It's like there's just some of the things that God did that wouldn't have happened if we just had that money that was in the bank there. We just had that and be able to do what we wanted to do. So, starting from way back there, this was just a big, it usually takes me about an hour to share that story and some of the miracles that went through all that and what God showed us and continues to show us. But that's kind of an idea of starting. If you're there, you might be further down. You might have went through some process and you got some training and you still have this vision. What's next? So I feel there's a whole bunch of different scenarios in this room here this morning. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to my wife. Like I said, I'm going to have her share how God gave her this initial burden. And then we hope to just show a short slideshow of some kind of how the street was when we first moved there, and a few things that the transformation that takes place in the heart. I'm pretty big in urban settings. So in the ghetto, there's a lot of trash and a lot of some of the homes that in our road there. 3 of them are condemned, and one was vacant. And we own all 4 of those now, and it's just that it's part of the story as well. So I'm going to show a little bit of that, and then closing with encouraging some of you. The why. Why should we do this? Sean told me there's some of you have been in contact with him a little bit just maybe within the next couple of years. You'd like to start a school, take your kids up to that next level. And we'd like to close with some of the, kind of confirming some of those reasons and why and how we can help you out with that as well. I'll share a little about that collective. I'll share with my wife here for about 15 to 50 minutes.
Yes, you can make time. Good afternoon. Am I swallowing my answer? Yeah. All right, it is a joy for me to be here. I just count this as such a privilege to be able to share what the Lord has done and through us in Harrisburg City and all these people here. I just see so much potential here in this room of what God could do through you, bringing urban education to some really special and children that we love and care and need people to care for them really and to invest their lives in them. So, like Rob said, we were in Mexico. We went from Mexico to Harrisburg, and we had our little family of 5 children. And we just felt the Lord laid it so strong in our heart to move into the community and just become a part of that were just amazing little kids. And they called our house the bouncy house because we had a trampoline in our backyard. Every single day after school, they were at the bouncy house. And our kids were always out there with them and just having a blast with them. So we just got to know them really well. So back in the summer, then in the fall, we're like, the winter is cold, too cold for the park, but we have all these relationships built now. So we opened our living room for them. We would sit them around in a circle. And this is going to be hard for me. We sit them around in a circle in the middle of the living room, and now we read Bible storybook, and then we pass the Bible storybook, and we look at the pictures, and ask the questions, and pray for them. So we just started building just a tremendous relationship with them. And so Alan Rock, he's our hero, who's been mentioned already this weekend. He's invested so personally into our family over the years. But he told us, he's like, you don't just stop with the children. You follow them home and you meet parents, right? That's what this is all about. If you really want to make a long-lasting impact on the kids' lives, you need to get families as well for the Lord. And so we did. We followed the kids home and we got to know their families, and they became like family to us. Honestly, we ate together, we hung out together, went to parks together. We just got to be so close to the families. We started having individual Bible studies. We started knowing the Lord. It was amazing. So we did all this stuff in Sunday night Bible studies with adults, individual Bible studies throughout the week. The Lord just started opening up all these amazing relationships and kids clubs. And so our house was like full and overflowing. And we started getting our kids were getting older, and we wanted them to have a place as well that they could feel like was their safe place. And so we just really started praying about what God had for the next step with our family, because obviously expansion needed to happen. And the house next to us was vacant, and it went up for sale for $7,000. And so we were able to buy that. We call it the Lighthouse. We got 2 single girls to move into the third floor of the Lighthouse, and we just opened the Lighthouse for the children and their families every day and every night of the week. We started taking individual Bible studies and do more group Bible studies with the adults. Bible club grew because we had more room. We started doing a prayer station, and in that prayer station, God and I would sit on the floor with a hardwood painted floor, and we put a blanket down, and the kids would come through for 15, 20 minutes at a time, and we prayed for them, and we asked them what they want us to pray about. And so much of it was they were getting bullied at school, and they were hearing things at school that they knew were wrong, people were taking the name of God in vain, and they were learning Bible club, that's bad, and that would just bother them. And they weren't allowed to pray together, and they would see their friends getting hurt, and they were always trying to defend their friends. And one of the little boys was like, in math class, I just want to concentrate on my math, and he's like, it's so loud in there, and I have to go like this, and I have to try to concentrate on my math. And I was starting to get this burden. I'm like, Brad, do you think we could start a school for these kids? And because they were growing, their parents were growing, because we were sending them to the to this school every day, because they were getting the bulk of the majority of their influence, right? And I just had this burden, and it just was starting to just rumble in me and just overtake me, really. And then this little boy, Carlos, he's been my boy from the very beginning, but he was in 3rd grade by then, and I asked him that day about him, I'm like, how's school going? And he was like, I said, Miss Kristen, I just want to learn how to read. And I'm like, my heart just broke. He was getting to this age where he was getting to be just a little bit tough, but in that moment his eyes filled with tears, and he was just stopped. He wanted to learn to read, and I'm like, we need to start a school. They want a safe place. They want to learn about Jesus. They don't want to hear the film and see the film, and they want to learn to read. Mira wants to do his math, Carlos wants to read, and we have to do something. And then during that time, we started taking some of the kids to school, just because then we would pray for them right before they got out of the vans, right before they got out of the car. And so I was doing that one morning. I was taking little kids to school, and I saw this little boy. And I didn't know him. He didn't come to the house, but there was this group of about 5 or 6 kids in front of him. They were turning around, they were making fun of him. And he was this little boy, and his backpack was broken, it was falling off, and his shoes were untied, and his collar wasn't buttoned right, and he had his head down like this, and traffic was so bad when kids were dropping off school, because it's just crazy in Harrisburg with one-way streets and everything. And so I stopped at the light, and I saw this little boy for a long time, because traffic was slow, right? And when I got closer, I saw what was happening, but when I got real close, I looked over and I could see the tears just falling down his face. And I thought, oh no, I think he's going into school feeling already utterly defeated. And no one is there to love him. I knew what faced him in the school. And the kids were just be alone. Believe me, we weren't alone. We had God. Physically, we felt alone. It felt big to us. And so we talked about, can we do this? And we're like, we don't know how. We tried to lay it down, and then that very next day, one of the ladies that had come to the Lord, her little boy was in second grade. He was an avid Bible club guy. And he was a great kid, but she came over so upset. She said that he was in second grade, right? And that he had come home the night before and said that a girl, like in fourth or fifth grade, I don't remember exactly what grade, but older than him, had like asked him to do like sexual acts with her in the bathroom at school, and he knew that was bad, right? And he like tried to flee, like tried to run, and she was like pursuing him, and he was so freaked out, so scared. She's like, I don't want to send my kids back there again. And like something in that just broke me, because she said to him like, how did you know what that meant? Like, what did you? And he said like, everybody talks about it. They all talk about it. They all do it. And I'm just like, I can't now. I can't. That's like the last thing. I can't actually stop anymore. Somehow we have to do this. And I talked to Rod, and he's like, I know we do, but I don't know how. Like, what do we do? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to go to prayer, and I'm going to just pray all night long until the Lord either gives me a way that we can do it, or he takes the burden from me, because it's so intense. And I don't know what to do anymore with it. And I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed, and I was like, God, if we can't do this, like, you need to take the burden from me, because it's too heavy for me to carry anymore. And there's kids that need Jesus, and they need a safe place. And how can we do this? And I prayed all night long. I wrestled, and I literally tried to take the burden and like carry it up the hill, and like lay it up the cross to like get it off of me. And I couldn't. And about 4 in the morning was when the Lord like spoke to me so strongly. It was almost an audible voice. It was that strong. And he said, it's not a burden, it's a calling, and you are to do it. And he said, Rod is supposed to quit his job, and you guys are supposed to do it. And so I'm like, whoa, Rod! I'm like, babe, you're supposed to quit your job, and we are supposed to start a school. And God told me in that moment that he will be with us. And he brought to me in those days this verse in Chronicles that says that the eyes of the Lord are looking to and fro all over the earth, to make himself strong and to show his power, to make himself strong for those whose hearts are fully committed to him. And I'm like, Jesus, my heart is fully committed to you in this school. I'm like, thank you, so strong. You show you're so strong. So we just prayed. We had a prayer room in the lighthouse. We had Suzanne and Deanne, Troy's sister, my 2 first girls. They have something special in my heart. But they were our BSers. Our house was connected with the door. We put our kids to bed at night, like late at night, after they had prayed with us too. But we'd go back and put them to bed. We'd go back over, and Deanne and Suzanne would meet us in the prayer room again, and we would pray. So late at night, we would just, God, move. And we were like, what do we do first? So we called James McFarland from Way of Jesus. We knew that he had officially started a school. And he was like, we need 2 to 3 years and like $250,000 or $350,000. And I was like, okay, well, we have 5 months and we have $500. That was a lot more. I had like $5. But anyways, and he's like, you're crazy, you can't do it. And I'm like, but we have to do it. He's like, well, 2 or 3 years, the kids will still be there. I'm like, that's 2 or 3 years, and they're getting all that filth and all that sadness and terror. I'm like, no, I can't wait that long. I don't have that long. And we started praying, and then we thought we could use the lighthouse.
He said, you're a crazy woman.
He did. He saw me a couple years ago. He's like, how did you do that? Like, God did it. I did too. He's like, you're crazy. We thought we could use the lighthouse, right? We weren't thinking, well, it's not zone commercial, right? So we're like, shoot, now we need a building. And I'm like, what are we going to do? I stayed up all night and prayed. Literally, around 4 in the morning, that was like the sweet spot when the Lord would talk to me. I was like looking up, I ran up to look out the window, and across the street there was this vacant store. And I'm like, I woke right up. I was like, wait. I'm like, I wonder if Brandon's store, like, I wonder if, what that zone, like, maybe it's zoned for a school. And he's like, I don't think so. Why would it be zoned for a school? But he's like, I'm calling up in the morning, okay, just so he can go back to sleep, right? I didn't go back to sleep, but he did. And I prayed, and here in the morning we found out that it was zoned for a funeral parlor, a florist, or a school. Like, what?
Or
A daycare.
Where's God?
Yeah.
Or a school would fit in there.
A private Christian school would fit, or a private school would fit in that as well. Yes! I'm like, that's the building. We contacted the owner and wanted $80,000. I'm like, shoot, we don't have any money. So I was like, praying, and the Lord told me he's going to give us $50,000. I'm like, put this, it's 80. So what are we going to do about that? But I was like, well, we're going to get the thing. So I didn't know where. Turned out like a distant cousin, like called the next day, and it was going to be $50,000. Like, how much do we need for the building? And it's going to be $50,000 or something like that. I don't remember all the details. We got our 50, and other person. So I'm like, okay, that's something. So we got the building, and then we just started running a setback after setback. And the first one was like we needed 8 parking spaces, right? Well, we're in like street parking. We don't have 8 parking spaces. Like, shoot, what are we gonna do? It had to be within 400 feet. 480 feet of the building. So we started calling all kinds of, like there were parking lots around, but like nobody wanted to rent us 8. Nobody wanted to rent us 8 parking places, right? So we're like, shoot, what are we gonna do? So we went to bed that night, and I stayed up all night. At around 4 in the morning, I looked at the back alley because we were looking out the front. For some reason, we hadn't looked out the back one. I looked out towards the back alley, and there's a factory on the other side of the alley, and I'm like, maybe that's within 480 feet, and woke right up. I wonder if the next street parking lot is within 480 feet. He's like, no, it's not. It's further than that. I'm like, but I think it is because I got it at 4 in the morning. The Lord, that's when He speaks. And He called the next day, and we called the surveyor's office, and I was like 478 feet away from the front. Glory be to God. And so he called the guy, which he used to work for him, and he said, hey, can I have 8 parking spaces? I won't use them, I just need to say I have them. And he's like, yeah, you can free of charge, whatever. So, like, think time after time after time. Harrisburg city codes are like super hard to work with. Every time before we pray, he'd go in and like present our next thing, and they would just like give variances and variances and variances. Literally, the school was starting, and we needed curriculum like $5,000 for a year. So of course we went to prayer, we prayed. And a church that Sunday said, hey, we're going to take an offering on Sunday, and we'll send it to you, get it next week, $5,000, just enough for the curriculum. Like, just time after time, things were coming through like that. And we needed teachers, you know, because like 5 months goes by really fast when you're working with a lot of paperwork. So this is like 4 weeks before school, we need teachers. We don't have any money. Actually, they're going to have to need to pay to stay there because like we don't have money for them to eat. So we just went to the prayer room that night. We prayed so long. I don't remember when we stopped, but it was well after midnight. The next day, I'm not kidding, we got 2 phone calls. That's who we needed, 2 more. We had Courtney, Martin was there already. We needed 2 more. Who's Adam? I don't know. We needed a 1st grade teacher and a 4th and 5th grade teacher. And we met with both of them, and the one was like, why don't we be interested in 1st grade? Like before we said, but we need to like, that's what we need. We signed her up. The next one was coming after that. We're like, we'll be hoping 1 4th and 5th. He's like, yeah, like the oldest class that you had is what I would think that's what our oldest class was, right? It was Adam back there, he was just a 19-year-old boy, but his passion for the little boy is, until today, just second to none. He's obviously done an amazing job for us. And we had our teachers except for kindergarten. It's like, you know what? I can teach kindergarten. I'm like, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So I'm like, I'm not worried too much about that. I'm going to keep praying. I kept praying, and Mars, one of the dancers, had a friend that came by, and about 2 weeks before school, I'm like, hey, we need a kindergarten teacher in 2 weeks. I'm like, you have to pay to come, and like, we don't know for sure who's going to show up. And I didn't actually order kindergarten curriculum yet because I was going to get one. You know, I gave her all the rundown, had to be on. And she's like, I'll come. And she came, and that just happens to be Adam's wife. So, you know, urban BS units sometimes good things happen there. She was our kindergarten teacher. She came, and so we started school. It was an amazing thing. Because of the building, we were able then to take our church from a Bible study to a real church. We planted a church, we gave it a name, people were involved. The new believers got to see from the very beginning because they were involved in the prayer for the school, what God can do. And it's been an amazing thing to be able to do the church and the school side by side. If you want to make an eternal, long-lasting, eternal impact on your kids' lives, your club kids, start a school. And get to know the families and start a church. Because those are the things that are going to be important things for it to go long-lasting impact into all of eternity is what our goal and our prayer is. So, I don't know. Oh, I do? Oh, okay, cool. Okay. This is the first. Okay, so I'm just going to say real quick. We started school, it was awesome. We got growth, right? Growth is always the goal. So then I'm like, shoot, we're like growing out of the building, so we need to like pray. So we had a youth group there the one time, they were cleaning up at the back, and I had never really noticed like what was back behind the alley of the school because it was all overgrown. And I noticed it that day, and it was like this overgrown block and this old building that was like terrible looking. but it was big, and the lot had trees. And I was like, Rod. I called Rod, who was our DS guy at that time. I called him over to this fence over here. And I was like, look, I'm like, we need this. We need this. This is our expansion. We can do this. And I started praying and praying. We found a guy, and he said he would give it to us for $45,000. We started praying for the money. A guy, the same guy that bought the building, the first building, said, hey, I'll give you $45,000. So we literally had the cash. Then we couldn't get the guy to sell it to us. And we tried to find him, and he didn't have phone numbers, and we couldn't get it. So we just kept praying and praying. Brad was like getting really silly after we worked out. Most of the time. But one time when I was praying, the Lord told me, you don't need to fight for this. Like, I will fight for you, just be still. And then I'm going to give it to you over auction for way less than $45,000. Like, I just heard that so specifically. And I was like, God is going to give that to us for less than $45,000 over auction. It's going to be on the auction. The auction is coming up. And he said, hey, it's going to be on the auction. Like, the guy wants the $45,000. I'm like, no, but it is. And we started praying for it, and God had given the man the amount of like $7,000 to pray for. So we started praying for the $7,000, and literally it went over. Pretty soon, he checked the auction list, and it's on it, right? But the guy has like 14 other properties that are on it as well. And he's like, he's going to pay the taxes on the last day. And I'm like, well, he's not going to pay the taxes on that one because we're going to get that building over auction. And sure enough, that day, I kept checking. He paid the 14. He paid the 13 lots, but he didn't pay that one. He thought he had it, but he hadn't. So Brad went to the auction, bought the building for $7,400, and we got the building. The poor guy lost the building, but the Lord works in mysterious ways. Then we're like, shoot, now we have this building, and we have a little extra from the 75 to the 45,000, right? But like now we need a guy to like come and do it, because like we're pretty busy at that point. Like people are growing in the Lord, and like when you lead someone to the Lord, like it's like a new baby, like it's a spiritual baby. Like they get you up in the night, and you feed them until they can feed themselves. Like it's intense, and the Lord was doing a lot in the church, and there was a school on top of that, and so we started praying for God, and then Sammy Fisher came. Yeah, almost done. Sammy Fisher. God bless his soul. He came and gave his time free of charge, paid for a lot of stuff out of his own pocket, blessed the staff team like above and beyond the entire 7 months he was there, and took that building from like a broken down, full of trash garage to a beautiful school for us, and so we are forever indebted to him. But you can see that on the slideshow. So all that to say, God can do it. You just have the ideas and the vision. God will take the rest.
Yes, I will just real quickly go through some of the slides. This was this is what it looked like. We lived across the street. So this property abandoned. This one had a bunch of apartments in it. This was vacant. Someone was living up there. This was abandoned and condemned. And this was abandoned and condemned. So that's kind of how it looked, and that's how it looks today. A pop of color. The city came and planted some trees. This is our house. This is the school, the junior high and high school. This is office on the first floor with kindergarten in the back, ladies' residence there. And this is another property that Tim and Suzanne, Jeremy and Courtney Glick had bought that when they were with us at Yola. And kind of that was the street, and that's the street. This was the building in the back of the elementary school, and it looks like that now. So a little bit of transformation, and obviously we go for way more than this kind of transformation. We go for transforming the heart. Someone donated $15,000. Maybe this is a really nice library. We just brought the material in there, built that little building there. So in closing here, about 6 minutes maybe? 7? All right. So you're here, obviously. Some of you are involved in clubs, some of you, I'm not sure why you're here. But what would starting a school with your kids club look like? What would that look like? It would be challenging, obviously. I would say, first of all, move into the neighborhood. Get out there. Amen. But why should you pursue this? Why would you think you should pursue this? I have 3 things here. First, Jesus loves the children. I don't know if you love the children, you love the kids. Jesus loves them way more. He had compassion. I love that touch this morning. I was actually from Brother Daniel. I told him, I said, man, keep the lights off because I'm driving. I was getting emotional. the needs that are out there, and they're around us as well. He took in his arms and he blessed them. His heart, Jesus' heart is for the kids. You all try to bless you in that. You want them to feel safe and secure. There's bullying going on that will blow our minds. There's sexual stuff going on that will blow your minds. The 7 years ago when I started in the second grade, I've heard kindergarten stuff. Oral sexual stuff going on in kindergarten in our schools. I'm telling you, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm just mad at the enemy. And we can't fix it all. Jesus, for whatever reason, that stuff is going on there. But if he's calling us, these are some of the reasons that out of Jesus' love for the children and my love for the children, that should propel us. What can we do? And it looks overwhelming. So bring that into one or two kids you're thinking about. One or two that you're thinking about. But another reason, benefit for the school, the spiritual well-being of the children. You have them maybe once a week at clubs, or maybe have a big brother, big sister program. But in a Christian school, we can control and provide a curriculum that is Christ-centered, and we can have discipleship that's happening daily. It's like Kids Club every day. Yep. We actually, after the first year, in 2016 we started, in 2017 we didn't have Bible Club. We stopped Bible Club because most of the Bible Club kids were at school, and it was just like we wanted to focus on that. We've since have started Bible Club back up again, but this is in an environment that is safe, and we're not perfect people. It's pretty cool that kids can learn from us and the mistakes that we made. Another reason you're able to thrive academically. You have a video?
Academics is has been a big burden for Brad and I as we started the school. But I just want to I'll just maybe give one story. There's a lot, but I'll give one. We got a 6th grader partway through the second year. He had been a Bible club kid growing up, and he was always at our house every day, but he had gotten into some trouble and got sent to the reform school and had kind of pulled away from us and from doing right. But partway through the second year, he came crying to his mom and he said, I want to go to this Christian school. Can you get me out of this school? I want to go to this Christian school. Well, we didn't have 6th grade yet that year, but we were like, what do you do? Like Brother Daniel said, what do you do? Do you say no? You can't come? No. The compassion propels you to bring them in. So we're like, Brad and I are like, we'll take up a lot of his classes. Jesse made sacrifices. We brought the 6th grader, and his name is Adam. And his first math test, he got a 55%. And Jesse called me over and he said, Adam, so crying, I'm asking for you. Can you come over? And I went over and I sat down on the steps beside him, and he had big tears that fell from all the way from his eyes, all the way down, and landed on the floor. He was always special to me, and it just broke my heart. And I looked at him, and he's like, I can't do this. I can't actually do this. And I looked at him, I grabbed him by both of the shoulders, and I said, Adam, you can do this. I believe in you. You can do this. I'm like, you have a good mind that God has given you. He's called you out of darkness into His light. He's going to illuminate your mind, and you can do this. And he graduated 2 years ago. He got A's in Algebra 1 and geometry all the way through. So praise God. It's amazing. Also, Brother Carlos came in. That little Carlos that I started the school for. He was getting 45% on his first spelling test. I said, Adam, Carlos, by the end of the year, if you get 100, I'm going to take you and Dylan to the side to get air. And I'm like, I know you can do it. We studied. And the last 2 or 3 weeks before school, we got 100 on his spelling test. He went out getting A's as well. So, praise God. There's academic value that we can give them that bigger classroom cannot.
All right, so there's, I've spoken to lots of people about this whole urban education, the opportunities, the potential that's there, something I'm passionate about. And so feel free to look me up later if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, if you have any dreams. More recently, there's been a lot of talk about that. Like Keyshawn said in the morning session, the Urban Education Collective was formed in July, sort of with that idea of what can we do to encourage each other and to collaborate, share best practice, help each other find staff. It's partner together. So we have a collective of 10 urban schools, and we're passionate about what we do. We're also passionate about helping others, like you. I'm not sure why I did that, but that might have been the Lord's. Doing the same thing, join us. Our passion, our goal, like you said, 30 urban schools by 2030. That's a big goal, but there could be 5 in this room. I've got goosebumps, and there could be 4 than 5. So we're working on getting something together. I'm talking about the legal processes and things like that. Some sort of a startup package and who you for this and this, we want to walk with you. There's other guys on this collective that are more educated than I am. We're going to be able to help you out more with that. And more specifically, Urban Mennonite Ministries is here as well, and they would it would be an option. Conrad Shankley's here to talk about their vision to provide the same resources that we're talking about here. Our ministry that we're part of, Urban Lighthouse Ministries, more specifically, we have a Spanish church plant there, and our vision is we've kind of expanded that to help other Spanish church planters have schools, provide schools for their children, help with the discipleship and the connecting of the families that it was such a blessing at Palabra de Vida, our church in Harrisburg. And there's one eyes on New York City to pray about that, pretty big. Corona, Elmhurst area to help assist the Vida en Cristo church plant that's there. So, I mean, resources, let's just get this getting me because, you know, $7,500 a month for rent or $3.5 million to buy. Like, wow, God, really? But yeah, he's like, really? So we're praying about that. And again, I bless you that you're here, and I want to just close here by saying, to God be the glory. Really, if anything, if you got anything from our time here, I want to be like Peter and say, man, it's Jesus. It's all Jesus, and let's proclaim Him, and let's do that passionately in the blessings of Him. Appreciate your time.